Hey guys, it's Chris. I'm just gonna shoot a really short, really quick video. Just because I kind of feel like an idiot because I just realized in all the years that, I've been kind of kicking around making YouTube videos, I've never really made one on my reflections on 9/11. And of course, it is September 11th, 2019, 18 years after the 9/11 attacks. And I figured I'd just do a real quick one, and I'm just going to call this one Where Were You? Just kind of, because I know a lot of my audience are, older folks, so of course the vast majority of the people that watch me, I know were around to at least recall where they were, what they were doing when 9/11 occurred. Um, and I'll actually kind of give you a precursor. I don't think, I'm not sure how many of you kind of believe in like premonitions or anything, but the one thing that I'll never forget about 9/11 for me was actually the night before. I remember going to bed that night. I went to bed about my normal time. It was a school night. And I'm just going to bed, and I was kind of getting, I was kind of sleepy, get ready to doze off. And I was kind of overcome with this feeling that something either weird or possibly even bad might happen. I mean, I, of course, didn't imagine, the following morning, the events of the following morning happening. I just figured something didn't feel right. I had a feeling like something strange was going to happen. I thought it would be more local, possibly affect me, or just around our immediate area in Colorado. But I just remember that feeling right before going to bed. And I remember getting up the following morning, and I was running a little late. That was somewhat normal for me. My time management back then kind of sucked. And I remember running late, and I wound up being late to my first class. I remember it was like my history. Yeah, I think it was my history class. I hate the fact that I can't remember my history teacher's name for that class. It was a freshman class. It was my freshman year of high school. But I remember getting into class, and I forgot what lesson we were doing or what we were learning about that day. But it seemed like we were just barely getting started when our principal, Dr. Poor, came on over the PA. And this was when things were just first happening. He just said that an aircraft had crashed into the World Trade Center. And I remember the news at first were speculating that maybe it was just a small airplane, and that's what he said. They were thinking it might have been a small airplane. Well, we did have a TV with a few stations in our classroom, so we went ahead and turned it on. And I still remember looking at the North Tower, with the live footage that they had, and just looking at the size of the hole. And I'm like, I remember I was shocked and upset, for the people that were possibly, that were involved, that were still in the tower. But I just had a really strange feeling. I'm like, how come I have a feeling that is not, that a small aircraft, like a small little single engine Cessna, could not have punched that big of a hole and done that much damage? And as we would later find out, of course, it was American Airlines Flight 11 that did it. But I still remember, just sitting with my classmates and we were watching it, just kind of trying to make sense of what happened. And of course, I was starting to become an aviation buff at this point, and I'm kind of trying to speculate. I'm like, it's a beautiful day. How in the world can you fly an aircraft into the towers? I'm like, and for whatever reason, I don't know if it was just denial. I really didn't think that was intentionally done. I'm thinking, what could cause an accident like that? I'm like, some weird mechanical failure, flight control problem, because I'm like, it certainly couldn't be weather related or that they couldn't see anything because the weather was beautiful. But, I think, and I think we were just kind of mumbling amongst ourselves, just kind of trying to figure out what was going on. And then we saw on TV United 175 going to the second tower, and it just dawned on me. I'm like, okay, obviously this is no accident. This is a serious attack on our nation. And it was just chaotic from then on. I don't really remember doing anything in any of our classes for the rest of the day. I think our first 2 or 3 classes after that, we were kind of watching TVs if the classes that we went to had TVs, and we were just trying to keep up to date on what was going on. But I think after about our third period, things were kind of I don't want to say settling down, but just, the attack itself was pretty much over at that point. So I think after that, I don't think anybody really wanted to see any more of it. So I think, if I recall right, the classes after that, we didn't have any of the TVs on. And I think it was just we were reflecting and talking because I really don't remember doing anything school wise that day. I mean, obviously we were in school, but we didn't do lessons or anything. At least as far back as I can remember. I mean, this was 18 years ago now, and my memory is kind of getting kind of faded from back then. I mean, sometimes I can't even remember what I had for breakfast back then, this morning. So, but I do remember that, and I do remember I actually went home for lunch because we could go off campus for lunch, and my house at the time was like a 3-minute walk away from the front of the school. So I went home for lunch, and my dad was home. I think mom was off working, but dad and I just kind of sat and talked about, what was going on and how we were feeling about it. And that was that. So I just kind of wanted to extend that question to you guys, my viewers. I was just kind of curious to see, where were you? What do you recall about that day? And things like that. And actually, one of my, I can't pronounce her last name, and I hate the fact that I can't, but one of my local city councilwoman, Yolanda, I just was at the Mitchell High School 9/11 ceremony this morning, where our JROTC unit, which was doing the flag rate, the reveille, and bringing up the flag and bringing it down to half staff. And I'm really happy that they're still doing that. I was in the JROTC unit all 4 years that I was in high school, and I can't remember if we did it that very first year. I think we did do something within the first week of that occurring. But I know the following year was the year that we started with the 9/11 ceremony, where basically it was a huge all cadet. The first year after, I think we were still a cadet group, but then we went to a wing. But it was just basically a wing formation where we would go out and do the ceremony. And it looks like, especially over the years, compared to how it was when I was still in school, that ceremony has just grown, and I'm actually thrilled to see that. But that was just a quick side note. So yeah, just putting it out there to you guys. Just wondered, what do you remember? And just kind of figured, just kind of keep the memories alive and stuff like that. Just that is a holiday that we should never. I don't even want to call it a holiday. I just wondered what you guys were doing, because that is an event that I feel we as Americans should never forget. But that's it. I hope you guys have all gotten to take a moment to just reflect and remember. And I will see you guys in the next video.